Hello and welcome to Flooring Models, another classic kit review for you. So today we've got Monogram's F-105 Thud in 1/48 scale. Again, this kit has been around since 1982. There was a couple of boxings. They did a single seat, a two seat. This particular one, I've got it down in front of me here, was released in around about 1985. Obviously, it became the Call of Glory, not duty, Call of Glory boxing from the TV shows in the US. I don't think we actually got it in the UK, or not that I remember. But anyway, we've been looking back at Monogram kits, as you know, and we've done a bit of a series of these vintage kits, purely because, one, it's nostalgia and they're fantastic kits, but secondly, they were light years ahead of the competition, especially around Europe and things like that. So it's lovely to do these. And I'm currently, as you know, working on one as we speak. We've got the Voodoo, which I'm doing at the moment, and I'm absolutely loving it. It's going together really, really well. The downside, of course, this is an old kit. So let's face it, it's going to be raised panel lines. Some of the details are quite basic, but luckily for us, Monogram, I think we're absolutely light years above everybody else, or ahead definitely, of cockpit detail, wheel well detail, and obviously simplicity of the build going together, as in it was great because I do believe it was model makers who were designing these kits, not engineers or CAD engineers as we find all too often today. So they're thinking about the build process, about what's going to be the easiest way to get it together without ruining the detail, because again, it's all raised detail on these things. So consequently, you've got to worry about raised panel lines and not obliterating them during joins and seams and that. And definitely, I've been working on the Voodoo. You can see that thought process is definitely going down into it. So, as you can see, nice bit of box art. They've done some lovely box arts, to be honest, across the entire series of them. But as you can see, it's a little bit battered, this box, but nevertheless. So we have got some pictures down on here. We've got your kit number, which is 5816. And then down on here, we've got a very nice built-up one over here with some of the details going through. So in the box, it's been opened, because let's face it, it's a few years old. Let's stand it up. There we go. So the decals are the first thing you're always greeted with these classic kits. But let's face it, they're horrible, they're not nice, and they are going to be, yeah. Luckily for us, though, there's plenty of aftermarket. So we won't look at those again because they've been growing. We've got the instructions down in here. Very nice indeed. We've got the kit. As I said, the bags have been opened, but it's a big old chunk. Just the quick measurements down here. This is what, going to be 40 centimetres? So it's not a small aircraft. But again, some really nice details on there. And we've got the other half. We've got the spare parts, which have clearly they've had a rough life. They've been kicking around the box a while because they're running loose. But again, quick polish up and details with those. We'll look at those a little bit later as well. Put them safely. Then we have the bag. All right. So when you're dealing with old classic kits, you just want to make sure that, you know, hopefully the bag is still sealed, which in this case it still is. So hopefully all the small parts will be still down in here and all okay. But obviously check your parts before you commence with your build, definitely. Oh, and there's a pilot falling out. Right. Okay, so start off with, we've got the instructions. And it should be, if it follows like the others, it is a giant pull-out one-piece sheet. So where are we starting? So you can see I need a bigger camera angle for this. We've got them all down in here. Let's fold this one over just for a moment and look for number one. Okay, so starting off with cockpit tub, we'll look at that. They are usually very, very nice, and I've been working on mine on the Voodoo, and I haven't used any aftermarket, and it looks absolutely great. So you've got the details down in there. This is the two-seat version, so obviously we've got them both going down in there. Then we've got the seats actually being fitted into this, and then obviously you've got the nose well going down in there, and we've got the actual, I think that's the cannon nozzle. Coming through, being fitted down in there as well. Then we've got the tub fitted, we've got the exhaust system being fitted down in there, and the flame holder for the afterburner going in there, and there's a couple of little bits and pieces talking about for the wing spar. Okay, so it's got a nice big wing spar running through this one. Tailplane's being fitted, and again it's talking about the positions it could go in, which is a nice little bit of detail. The strange thing with the Thud is this tail system that it actually has for the sort of afterburner, and the way that it sort of open and contracts, it looks almost futuristic by today's standards of the way it was done, but it's really nice, and obviously it's got the speed brake depressions at the bottom as well. So it's an odd system. It looks like a rocket ship, but these all open out, if you know what I mean, like petals to make a speed brake for it. And again, it doubles up as being the sort of outer part of the nozzle as well, which is quite clever. Inside as well, so we've got the splitter plate for the intakes going down in there as well. A couple of little details it's talking about. The wing system, usually two halves going together, which is in this case. And then same on the other side. And then we've got the doors being fitted. We've got one of the racks, but obviously you do this somewhat out of alignment, but we've got the multiple ejector rack system being fitted down onto there. Talking about the gear going on and doing the bits and pieces from that, lining up the gear and getting them all put in with the actuators. Geared doors, outer geared doors going on there. We've got the old daisy cutter fuse system down on there on the bombs, and then obviously filling up if you're going to be using it, the actual bomb racks. Some of the little details, so we've got some scoops and fuel dumps and things like that going down on there. We've got the nose system, again, nose wheel gear being fitted, nose wheel gear going on, and doors. Antenna blades being fitted down onto this one. Fuel tanks on the wings, and then obviously fitting those in, and then an outboard station as well in there. Exactly the same. Pilots being fitted. You've got a posable hand as well, so you can sort of maneuver them around a little bit. And then the canopies being fitted on here. Got a little bit of a HUD system or a gun sight in there. And then obviously we've got the canopy positions open or closed. Marking options, obviously you're not going to use it, but it gives you a clue for what you probably are going to go for going down the slightly aftermarket route. But it's actually a really nice one with the black stripes on this particular one over a natural metal finish. So really nice indeed. So like we were saying, it's very simple how they go together. I'm working on the Voodoo recently, and I know the guys are working on some of the other classic kits at the moment. This is one of those areas where sometimes modern kits seem really complicated, and you think it only took me 4 hours to get the Voodoo together, and there's only a tiny little bit of filler on there as well, so a little bit of time taken will pay you dividends working. All right, so we've got the fuselage halves here, and as you can see, full of detail. And this is what I love about these older kits, is that it's got a beautiful raised effect, which technically the panel lines need rescribing. And if you wanted to, you could easily go around with these kits and rescribe the entire thing. But what's really nice is the attention to the raised detail. So one of the areas that jumps straight out here is this plating in here. All down in there, we've got the recesses where you need them. But again, it's got very, very nice details to it. So it wouldn't be rocket science just to go around and rescribe all of this, but if you do want to leave it in one place, and if you are doing like a natural metal finish as well, it's really easy to weather it to give them that recessed look. So again, very, very nice. Got a minimal amount of flash dust down in here, but generally very nice details. On the inside, nothing really to speak of. We've got a little bit of detail for the inside of the cockpit, but everywhere else is pretty blank. All right, so again, it's one of those ones where, you know, you haven't got tons of things going on here. You haven't got to put the tail on. It's just literally classic of two halves going together. So really very nice indeed. So that's both the fuselage halves. Then I can work out where bits are escaping from, but we definitely are losing some bits in here. So what we'll do is we'll open up an end. Try and slide some of these out. And over time, obviously, the plastic will deteriorate and gets very crunchy, shall we say. Check your bags to make sure there's no gnarly bits left in there. All right. And then you go through. But as you can see, a lot of this stuff has come off the sprue. So it is a little bit of working your way through it all. If you are working with the kit, you just want to make sure it's all here. So it's time to lay these out and then match up the parts that may be missing. And that's one area you can just go around just to make sure we've got all the parts generally. All right, so if we just move those over there, we'll move those up there to those separately. But you can see, not bad at all. Actually, we've only got a few little ones down in here. We have got some old favourites that are always going to come back and get you, such as the odd sink mark. So you can see down in here, these engine scoops have got them. But again, you're thinking this is 1970s, 80s detail on these. But going around the rest of it, you can see we've got detail in that flame holder. The gear looks really nicely. No separate hubs, just one piece, and then two halves for the wheels. All the gorgeous detail right the way the top over these wing sections. We've got nice detail down in here. This is that wing spar, and it's got some details down in there which make up the wheel well. And generally, the highlight has always been the cockpit tubs. Again, it's all raised details, so you can go around and paint it up and do a really, really nice job of it. If you want to see how well, this is my version of how well, you can see what I've been doing to the Voodoo, and I'm very happy with the way it turned out. But again, little touches that are absolutely beautifully done is that obviously you've got the brake lines and the hydraulic lines down in here and some wiring on the main gear that obviously feed the lights and the brakes for it are pre-molded into the model. The gear, obviously these are the doors, you've got the wiring and the bits and pieces all done in those as well, which is really, really nice to see. So you've got all these little details which are pre-molded in, which are really easy to pick out, either simple dry brushing, painting or pens right the way through. Same goes down in here on the nose gear. So again, really nicely done, you know. Down on the inside of the wheel wells, obviously you've got a little bit of detail for the top. So generally, not bad at all. So, you know, you can be very happy with the details you got straight out of the bat. Same goes down in here. We've got the lower side, and we've got some of the fuel tanks and bits and pieces. We've got the braking system, we've got the pilots down in here, and actually it all looks pretty nice. So again, if we start at the top here, we've got the fuel tanks. And again, sometimes they're a mixture of raised and recessed details. In this case, it's all raised on here. But we've got these. Flip it over, we can see we've got the instrument front and rear panels, which again, a simple dry brush does it really well. But if you want to get creative, you can get in there with pens and detail them up. Whilst we've got it this way, you can see we don't have any ejector pins on the inside to the speed brake stroke normals. They're very nicely done. So that's all okay. And then moving across, obviously, the easiest way to do it, perhaps this way, you can see we've got the detail. We've got all the reinforcement plates moulded in the underside of the actual wing system. So that's really nice. We've got the details pre-molded in and all ready to go as well down in there in that wheel well. So that's very nice. Some of the smaller details to see, you've got the blades and antennas, we've got the nose, we've got the dump valves, things like that down in there. We've got the nose doors. Then over here, we've got the splitter and we've got the crew. And obviously we've got the other crew, which would be in here. He's in here as well. And again, the crew are actually really nicely done. They're molded with the masks on, visors down. And then obviously this one over here is done with visor up. So again, some nice differences between the two. And obviously this guy's looking slightly off to one side as well. And I've always been a big fan of their sort of, you know, crews and things like that. Last up, we've got the weapons bit. So we've got those multiple ejector racks, we've got the pylons, we've got the longer fuse, the daisy cutter. And then obviously we've got the standard bomb fit right underneath and the other fuel tanks, as you can imagine, just down on there. So again, they're actually very, very nicely done. Some of the other bits down in here, obviously we've got the exhaust, we've got the flame holder will go down in there. But again, really nice details all the way around on that. We've got no seam line down there, it is molded in one. So that's very, very nice indeed. We've also got the seats. So we've got a couple of the seats down in here, molded in one again, with molded in harnesses. So obviously if you've got the crew on board, it doesn't make a lot of difference. But if you do, like I've done, it's just dry brush them up. They'll come up absolutely lovely. And again, some other things. We've got one of those dump valves here for the vanes and a couple of other small little parts down in here. I think this is gear. So we'll keep them bagged up all separate. And that's the thing to it. You see how quick that is and simple. And again, obviously these days, you know, if you wanted to and you wanted a recessed version, you're going to do the Hobby Boss one. Hobby Boss have brought out all the versions, single, two-seat, Wild Weasel, so forth and so on. And everybody would probably go running at that particular kit. But as I say, if you got it in your stash, you know, and let's face it, you know, we're going into difficult times these days. I wouldn't be put off from building it. I'm having so much fun at the moment working with the actual Voodoo. I'll quite happily build this. And I've even got, to be honest, I've got the Hobby Boss Thud down there anyway in my stash. But there's nothing wrong with this particular one. Again, if you're quite adept at doing your rescribing, then knock yourself out. You're very, very straightforward with it. But again, if you're not, there's various ways you can do to leave those in place. I've left them all in place on here. And I'm going to be doing it in a metal finish. We're going to be doing this one as an early, so I've got to take off the tracker on the front here. But we're going to do this as an early version, so it'll actually be in metal. And then obviously we've got a few details we're going to add to it, but we've left all the raised details in there, or we've put them back in where we've lost them. And we'll show about obviously going through painting and weathering those up to make them look like more realistic and things like that. But generally this kit went together so well. It's a good, solid kit. It's the type of kit you could go around and club people with. And you know it's not going to fracture or go delicately out of place like modern kits will. It's very simple in their construction. They're very strong models when they go together. But actually it's this thing. Take your time, test fitting from start to finish. If it's not fitting, have a look why. Normally, and I can only speak for that one, it's just something really, really small. You know, there may be a little bit of tiny bit of flash in the way, or just needs a little bit taken out, and it makes a perfect fit. Like we've spoken about before, modern CAD kits, my only gripe with them now is that you don't get the wiggle room, as I call it. So obviously, if they haven't got the part completely lined up inside, or perhaps you've got a couple of layers of paint or glue or super glue and it's not in the right way, the halves won't go together because there's not that wiggle room. These kits have a little bit of wiggle room, so you've got a little bit just to get it all, you know, maneuvered in and got in there nice and tight, and then away you go and you'll be absolutely fine with it. Last up, we got these clear parts, which is what I was going to say about. These are beautiful, even though they're scratched up to hell, because let's face it, they're very old nowadays. But again, no centre seam. You've got really nice details in these. It's got slight raise, but nothing horrendous. So it's easy to follow them around with either a mask set or if you're taping them up yourself. But look how clear they are. They're very, very nice. They're no problem at all. And they seem to be the right thickness. They're not overly thick or anything else like that. This guy's got a little bit of flash on it, but literally, there you go. You just give it a wiggle and then it comes away. So yeah, it's one of those ones where it's really very, very nice clear parts. And that's followed me through all these reviews we've done. The clear parts have always been very nice and spot on. So there you go. That is the Monogram's 148 scale F-105F. Say they do different versions of it. And this little kit has obviously been reboxed by Revell of Germany in recent years. Last time it was out was 2013. So it's a few years ago now. It's not 9 years ago. But also, Hasegawa reboxed this kit as well. So if you can find one of the older ones, I wouldn't just be dismissive. Don't think of these kits as just being, oh, it's, you know, it's outdated now and all the rest of it. I can honestly say I've had more fun doing the Voodoo than I've done some of the brand new AAA model kits over the last few years. It's nice, it's quick, it's very straightforward, and it's an easy build. So that's what I love about it. Anyway, another fantastic vintage kit. More to come soon.